That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Jose, which opens January 31st, 2020 in New York at the Quad Cinema. And then we'll expand to LA February 21st.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this film premiered at the 2018 Venice Film Festival in the Venice Days sidebar, and it was awarded the Queer Lion, actually. It's filmed in Guatemala from a Chinese filmmaker, Li Cheng, who's, this is his second film. His first film, he moved to the US. It was called Joshua Tree in 2014. I have not seen that. And yeah, he moved to Guatemala, financed this film himself, and here we are.
So what is it about?
It's about, as you would expect, a young man named Jose who lives alone with his mother in Guatemala City, and he's a closeted homosexual. And that's kind of the gist of the story.
Yeah. This film is good enough. It didn't really excite me because there isn't much happening. Mm-hmm. And you referred to it as, or there's another film style, like Italian.
Oh, so I was reading, even in the press notes, the director comments how his influences were the Italian neorealists and Hou Hsiao-Hsien. And after reading that, it does feel like a film that would have been influenced by Hou Hsiao-Hsien. Maybe what came to mind after reading that was Goodbye South Goodbye, a 1996 film by that director. And sure, the Italian neorealist, in that it's a film where it prizes sincerity and authenticity over a dramatic narrative. I don't know that I would call this gritty.
No, I'm kind of lukewarm on this film because it does feel very... It's not exciting in any way, dramatic, overly dramatic, which I can appreciate. They're just like, stakes are really low. I think as a result, I didn't really connect with the main character.
Well, so it's a cast of non-professionals. Enrique Salanic plays Jose, who does a fine enough job.
He does.
But it's a character that's very ambivalent, and so I felt very ambivalent towards him, because he's basically just going to be living this secret lifestyle and not abandoning his mother.
So for the most of the movie, we just see him going back and forth from work. Mm-hmm. He works like for a restaurant, like doing like delivery orders or something.
No, it was interesting because at the restaurant he's expected to wait out in the street and kind of flag traffic and then take their orders.
Right. So he drums up business.
Kind of like a drive-in without a drive-through area.
But he's also soliciting.
Yes.
It seems stressful. Yeah. So bless his heart. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he just goes back and forth from work, but he has... It appears that maybe he's on like an app to find men. Because he's playing with his phone a lot and receiving messages. However, he's meeting men. There is one in particular who he meets on a regular basis. Luis. Do you know who plays that guy?
Manolo Herrera.
So he sneaks away from work, which everyone seems to realize. Mm-hmm. He's sneaking away from work, and he goes to like sort of a shitty hotel where you can pay by the hour to have sex with this man.
A pink hotel, yeah.
And then he comes home and interacts with his mom, eats dinner, gives her a little bit of money, wakes up, does it all over again. And then ultimately, like, his Luis wants to like move things to the next level and perhaps leave the city they're in, leave Guatemala altogether, and he doesn't want to. So he stays.
And Luis is also somebody that's shown to be much more comfortable with his sexuality. He was outed by his brothers, and he bears a scar because he was beaten for it.
Which is far less dramatic than what you even said, because Luis only shares that story like post-coital, post-coitus, whatever. So there's very little danger, there's very little emotion. Jose just seems kind of like he's going with the flow. Mm-hmm. He's able to satisfy his homosexuality,
his urges.
When Luis leaves because Jose doesn't want to leave with him, he kind of moves on and interacts with a few other men. Mm-hmm. he does at some point go looking for Luis, but is unsuccessful.
Because we're seen to, he has a sex scene where he can't get it up, basically, and that's kind of the signal that he's caught in his feelings for Luis.
But even that is very like unremarkable.
Yes.
It's not expressed in any way except that we see him attempting to have sex with someone from behind, and then he kind of stops. So that's it. Like, it's just like maybe he realizes he should go find the guy who he could get it up for. Maybe he does end up seeing a gentleman who lives like in a nicer part of the city, who appears to have like an education and money, who offers to let Jose live with him, and Jose doesn't.
But what I thought was remarkable, well, the telling about that scene, not remarkable per se, is their conversation there. He's trying to convince Jose to, you can come stay here, I can take care of you. Because,
you can go to school.
Because after all, who's going to take care of us? Because Jose's dilemma is that he can't leave his mother behind, but he's not going to have children, so
who's going to take care of him?
Who's going to take care of him?
But even the way you're expressing it is more clear than
right.
the film.
But even in that same exchange, he's asked, like, what do you want? And he simply says, I don't know what I want. And that's the type of character we're watching here, is it's somebody that doesn't know what they want, or how to get it.
Ultimately, his mother sends him to go live with his grandmother, presumably to stay out of trouble, or maybe just to work. I don't know. It's not made it super clear.
I think, but we can read into it that the mother is aware that he's being led astray to a degree, because she has some minor...
She witnesses him leave one day with Luis on a motorcycle. He comes home very late, and when she asks where he was, he lies to her. And that's kind of it. Like, she just says,
but
like,
then
really?
She confronts Luis's mother.
She confronts Luis's mother and just says that, I think your son is like a bad influence or something. But it's not clear if it's like because he's like not a good kid or because they're fucking. Like, I don't know. But...
Do you want to talk about the mom? Because that's...
Well, so then I was getting to that. So the basic story is like, then he goes off to live with his grandmother, and then that's the end of the movie. Like, nothing happens.
Well, he searches for Louise to no avail, and then I think there are some scenes that are probably a bit too subtle with what they're trying to do, as far as him visiting these ruins and then finding another young man on a motorcycle.
Well, the very last scene is him walking to the bus stop and asking a young guy who looks like he could be gay because he's wearing like short shorts and a tank top, asking him where it is, and the guy offers him a motorcycle ride, and that's the end. So I don't know, it just feels very apathetic, and like how Luis says, I don't know, it's like, I don't know how I feel about this movie, because it's like there's nothing really going on. I didn't care for the characterization of the mother, which would be like my biggest issue with the film.
Anna Cecelia Mota is the actress's name. It's her first film. I read that she was a psychologist, or is a psychologist.
She is played older than I think the actual actor is. I don't know if they put like padding on her. They appear to make her hair look grayer than it is. She just seems like this frumpy, like, spinster, which just doesn't seem to play well with like how old she should be versus how old this Jose should be. And she's very like religious. There are several shots of like them in church. She prays a lot. It's made very clear through her own dialogue that she doesn't know what she would do without Jose, and he has to like never leave her. And
it's very on the nose dialogue for her.
It's so heavy that at a point because I was watching it on my laptop, that I stopped and looked up who made the film, because I had a feeling that maybe it wasn't not even necessarily a Guatemalan person, but like a Hispanic person. And then it wasn't. So it makes me feel like, I don't know, I didn't quite like that idea. Like, she seems like a caricature of like a stereotype of what we think of Latina moms, of being overbearing and having these expectations. Because if that is the case, I think her reaction to her son is missing some things.
Yeah.
Because she should either be very concerned about him not having a girlfriend, or she should be very like controlling of him. But she's none of those things, except that you can't leave me. But I'm not.
And there's a very awkwardly staged scenario where she's mugged, basically.
There's a scene where she's mugged, and it's almost humorous because she's so like awkward and doesn't make any noise, and the people who steal her items kind of like walk up to her and then walk away from her.
But it's also not referenced again, because that to me is a signal to set up more guilt for
of why, right?
for
But
Jose.
then it's not clear that Jose even knows his mom was mugged, which could be sort of symbolic of like he doesn't know how much she needs him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is a bad movie. It just is a little too. It just feels like I spent 90 minutes watching like a fish tank, like a couple fish in a fish tank going around a rock or something.
It is a little standard, especially if both you and I consume a lot of queer content.
It feels like every gay movie I watched from like 1999 to 2004, except that this one is missing like gay bashing or like having your heart broken. All the normal tropes, which don't need to be there.
Okay, I also wanted to bring up, because we had this conversation about a Chinese filmmaker who goes to Guatemala to make this film. There does seem, because there is not really a Guatemalan film industry. There is a Guatemalan filmmaker who has received wide acclaim on the festival circuit, Jayro Bustamante. And while I was watching this, I thought of his 2019 film Tremors, which played in Berlin last year. It's about a well-to-do family man who comes out to his family and leaves them for his lover, and who's of a lower social class, and just how the social pressures, like he's not allowed to see his children, he loses his job, and he's forced to go through conversion therapy and then be accepted back into his family. That film also arguably has a lot of standard notes, but the emotion there, the trigger, it's very potent and compelling.
Yeah,
to which
and it sounds that way.
And also felt more specific to Guatemala, I think, even than this did, for me. And then another film that I was thinking of quite a bit, and it's probably because I realized the filmmaker was Chinese, was Liu Yi's 2009 film Spring Fever, which is about a man that's assigned to, he's hired to investigate this philandering husband, and then they end up having an affair. But just kind of the same style and sense of the relationship, because I thought that was a more interesting film, but I also remember feeling not connected to those lovers, those two male lovers either.
Well, my final thought was, the entire time I was watching it, I felt like I was holding my breath, waiting for something to happen, and then the film ended and nothing happened.
Yeah, basically.
I would give this film 2.5 out of 5 stars.
I think that's fair.
It's well done.
Sure, it makes me curious to see what else he would do, and to realize that he made this film by himself. It's impressive, There's a lot of impressive things about the making of this film.
It is. I do have feelings about films that use casts that are like first timers in regions where they probably won't ever get the chance to make another film. Like, I don't know that any of these people will make another film, just as a function of where they are and the industry there. It feels a little like, I'm going to say exploitative. I don't want to, I mean, that's the only word I can think of, but I don't want to be that harsh about it. It's kind of a bummer, like,
sure.
Because I did think everyone did an okay job. It's just no one in it is remarkable enough to like stand out.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, what would you give it?
I think 2.5 out of 5 is a fair assessment.
Bye.
Bye.